In the heart of a raging snowstorm, where icy winds howled like wolves on the hunt, a majestic Mustang stallion collapsed in the frozen wilderness. His body bore the scars of battle, claw marks from predators, frostbite etched into his weathered hide, but it was his spirit that refused to yield. Beside him lay a tiny foal, shivering and weak, her survival dependent on the last ounce of strength this ancient warrior could muster. This is the unforgettable story of Ghost Walker, a 22-year-old wild stallion who defied time and nature itself to protect his adopted daughter, and whose final stand would leave an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. This tale will remind you that even in the harshest conditions, love endures. It's a story of resilience, courage, and the unbreakable bonds that connect us, even across species. Through Ghost Walker's unwavering determination and Philly's fragile hope, we are reminded that some acts of bravery transcend logic and speak directly to the soul. If this story resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more inspiring tales of courage, compassion, and the incredible connections between humans and animals. Stay tuned as we dive deeper into Ghost Walker's extraordinary journey, a testament to the power of love and sacrifice. Have you ever witnessed an act of selflessness that left you speechless? Let us know in the comments below. A Mustang collapsed in the middle of a snowstorm. Everyone thought it was just another victim of the harsh winter. But when 3 ranchers discovered what was hidden beneath him, their hearts stopped. What they found would change everything they believed about wild horses and the lengths a creature would go to protect what matters most. Get ready for a story that will challenge your understanding of sacrifice and survival. The February blizzard hit Wyoming's Red Desert without mercy. Jack Morrison, a rancher who had spent 40 years on these lands, squinted through the whipping snow as his truck crawled along the old fence line. His friends Tom and Miguel sat beside him in tense silence. They were searching for Jack's missing cattle, but what they found instead would haunt them forever. "Stop!" Miguel suddenly shouted, pointing toward a dark shape barely visible through the white curtain of snow. "There's something out there." Jack slammed on the brakes, the truck sliding slightly on the icy ground. Through the frost-covered windshield, they could make out a large form lying motionless in the snow. At first, Jack thought it was one of his cattle, but as they stepped out into the biting wind, the truth became clear. It was a wild Mustang, a magnificent black stallion whose coat was now dusted white with snow. The horse lay on his side, his breath coming in shallow, visible puffs in the frigid air. His legs were tucked strangely beneath him, and his usually proud head rested heavily against the frozen ground. "He's still alive," Tom observed, kneeling carefully at a distance. Years of ranch work had taught them all to respect the power and unpredictability of wild horses, especially injured ones. But something was wrong with this picture. The Mustang's position seemed unnatural, as if he was deliberately holding himself in place despite his obvious exhaustion. His dark eyes, still alert despite his condition, tracked their movements with an intensity that made Jack's skin prickle. "Why isn't he trying to get up?" Miguel wondered aloud, studying the scene. Even injured horses usually try to stand when humans approach. Jack circled slowly, trying to get a better angle. The snow around the Mustang was disturbed, showing signs of a struggle. But the horse himself remained eerily still, except for the rapid rise and fall of his rib cage. It was then that Jack noticed something odd. A slight depression in the snow beneath the horse's body, as if he was sheltering something. The wind howled around them, and Jack felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. This wasn't just an injured horse. This was a creature protecting something, using his own body as a shield against the storm. But protecting what? As Jack took another careful step forward, the Mustang's eyes locked onto his. In that moment, Jack saw not just an animal, but a soul filled with desperate determination. The horse's nostrils flared, and he made a low warning sound. Not quite a whinny, more like a plea. "Boys," Jack said quietly, his voice barely audible over the wind. "I think we need to be very careful here. This horse is guarding." The 3 men stood frozen, not from the cold, but from the weight of the moment. Jack slowly raised his hands in a calming gesture, speaking in low, soothing tones to the fallen Mustang. "Easy there, big fella. We're not here to hurt you." Tom pulled out his phone, shaking his head. No signal. The isolation of the Wyoming backcountry, usually a blessing, now felt like a curse. Miguel, the youngest of the three at 35, had grown up around horses on his family's ranch in New Mexico. He recognized the signs of hypothermia in the Mustang's trembling muscles and glazed eyes. "He's been here for hours, maybe longer. We need to act fast." The stallion's breathing grew more labored as they watched. Jack noticed fresh blood seeping into the snow near the horse's hind legs. "He's injured. Might have been caught in old barbed wire or taken a bad fall." As they debated their next move, the Mustang suddenly shifted, a pained grunt escaping his throat. The movement revealed a glimpse of something beneath him, a patch of brown fur that didn't match his black coat. "Jesus," Tom whispered. "There's another horse under him." The revelation changed everything. This wasn't just an injured Mustang. This was a stallion protecting a member of his herd. Jack's mind raced with possibilities. A mare, a younger horse. The protective instinct of wild horses was legendary, but seeing it firsthand in such extreme circumstances was overwhelming. Miguel crept closer, trying to get a better look without spooking the stallion. "It's smaller, whatever it is. He's completely covering it with his body." The wind picked up, driving snow into their faces. They needed to make a decision quickly. The temperature was dropping fast, and both horses were in danger. But moving an injured, protective stallion was dangerous work, even for experienced ranchers. "We need supplies from the truck," Jack decided. "Ropes, the emergency kit, and those horse blankets." As Tom headed back to the vehicle, the Mustang's eyes followed him with surprising alertness. When Tom returned with the supplies, the horse's agitation increased. He tried to lift his head, his neck muscles straining with effort. "He thinks we're a threat," Miguel observed. In his mind, he's the only thing standing between danger and whatever he's protecting. Jack had seen a lot in his 4 decades of ranching, but the determination in this wild horse's eyes was something special. Despite his injuries, despite the killing cold, the stallion refused to abandon his post. They worked out a plan. Miguel would approach from the front, keeping the stallion's attention and speaking softly in Spanish, a language that often seemed to calm horses. Tom and Jack would carefully try to see what was beneath the horse and assess the situation. As Miguel began his approach, the stallion's ears pinned back, but he didn't have the strength to do more than bare his teeth in warning. His protest was weak, but filled with desperate courage. That's when they heard it. A small, muffled sound from beneath the stallion. A sound that made all 3 men's hearts skip. It wasn't another horse at all. The soft, high-pitched whinny that emerged from beneath the stallion made everything crystal clear. Miguel's eyes widened as he pieced together the truth. "Dios mío. It's a foal. He's protecting a baby." Jack felt his throat tighten. In all his years working with horses, he'd never seen anything like this. A wild stallion using his own body as a living shelter to protect a foal from the deadly storm. The blood in the snow took on new meaning. This horse had fought through injury and exhaustion to create a barrier between the baby and the killing cold. The foal must have collapsed, Tom reasoned, his voice thick with emotion. And the stallion, he just lay down on top of it to keep it warm. The mathematics of survival were simple but heartbreaking. The stallion's body heat was the only thing keeping the foal alive, but the effort was slowly killing him. Every minute they delayed increased the risk for both horses. Miguel continued his soft approach, now understanding the stallion's fierce protectiveness. "Tranquilo, Papa," he murmured. "We're here to help your baby." Whether the horse understood the intention or was simply too exhausted to fight, his resistance weakened slightly. Jack seized the moment to get a better look at the situation. What he saw made his hands shake. The foal was tiny, probably only a few weeks old. Its brown coat was visible in patches where the stallion's body had shifted. The baby was unconscious but breathing, completely dependent on the living shield above it. "We need to work fast," Jack announced. "Tom, get the warming blankets ready." Miguel, keep talking to him. I'm going to try something. Jack had an idea born from desperation and decades of experience. He couldn't move the stallion by force. The horse would fight to his last breath. But maybe, just maybe, he could convince him they were allies, not enemies. Pulling out his knife, Jack cut open one of their emergency feed bags, spreading sweet grain in the snow, just out of the stallion's reach. The horse's nostrils flared at the familiar scent, his hunger warring with his protective instinct. "That's it, boy," Jack encouraged. "We're friends. We want to help." The stallion's eyes darted between the grain and the men, confusion evident in his expression. Wild horses rarely encountered humans who offered food rather than chased them away. The gesture seemed to shift something in his understanding. Miguel noticed the change, too. "He's thinking about it." "Keep going, Jack." Jack spread more grain, creating a trail leading slightly away from where the foal lay. "Come on, beautiful. Just shift a little. Let's help your baby." The next few moments felt like hours. The stallion's instincts warred visibly. Protect the foal, but also survive. His own survival meant nothing, but perhaps these strange humans could help where he could not. Finally, with tremendous effort, the stallion began to move. Not away from the foal, but just enough to expose the baby's form. The shift revealed the full extent of both horses' condition. The foal was smaller than they'd thought, its ribs visible through its winter coat. But with the foal partially exposed, the urgency of the situation hit home. Jack grabbed the emergency blankets while Tom prepared the first aid kit. The little one's breathing was shallow, its body temperature dangerously low despite the stallion's protection. "We need to get them both somewhere warm," Miguel urged. But they all knew the complexity of that task. Moving wild horses, especially a protective stallion and vulnerable foal, wasn't something you did lightly. The wind howled louder, and Jack made a decision that would have seemed insane to anyone who didn't understand horses. "We're not moving them. We're building shelter right here." Tom looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "In this storm, the truck has that emergency tent in the back, and we got tarps. The stallion won't leave the foal, and moving the baby might kill it. We work with what we've got." As Tom and Miguel rushed to the truck, Jack stayed with the horses. The stallion watched him wearily, but something had shifted in their dynamic. The offering of grain had established a tentative trust. Jack slowly extended his hand, letting the stallion smell him. The horse's nostrils flared, taking in his scent. "I've got a grandson about the age of this foal," Jack found himself saying. "I understand protecting babies. You're a hero. You know that." The stallion's ears flickered at his voice. Up close, Jack could see the toll the ordeal had taken. The horse's eyes were sunken, his coat dull with exhaustion. The wounds on his legs were worse than they'd appeared from a distance. Deep claw marks that told a terrifying story. "Cougar," Jack muttered, recognizing the marks. The pieces fell into place. A cougar attack on the herd, maybe targeting the foal. The stallion had fought it off, but paid the price. In the chaos, the foal had become separated from its mother. Tom and Miguel returned with supplies, and they worked with practiced efficiency. Using the truck as a windbreak, they erected a makeshift shelter around the two horses. The tarp walls flapped violently in the wind, but it was better than nothing. Miguel crawled carefully toward the foal with a warming blanket. The stallion tensed, but didn't attack. "It's okay, Papa," Miguel soothed. "Tranquilo." The moment Miguel wrapped the blanket around the foal, something magical happened. The little one stirred, a weak whinny escaping its lips. The sound seemed to give the stallion new life. He nickered softly in response, his head turning to nuzzle the baby. "The foal's name is Philly," Miguel announced, his hands working quickly to assess her condition. "Dehydrated, hypothermic, but no major injuries. She's a fighter." Jack felt relief wash over him, but they weren't out of danger yet. The stallion's wounds needed attention, but he doubted the wild horse would allow it. They needed a different approach. "Tom, mix some electrolytes with warm water." "Miguel, keep working on Philly. I'm going to try something stupid." Jack approached the stallion with the medical supplies visible in his hands. Instead of trying to hide his intentions, he showed the horse everything. Antiseptic, bandages, antibiotics. "I know you don't trust humans," Jack said quietly, "but we want to help." As Jack finished treating the stallion's wounds, Tom made a discovery that changed their understanding of the entire situation. Hidden beneath the snow where the stallion had been lying was a small leather pouch, the kind used by local wildlife researchers. "Look at this," Tom called out, brushing snow from the weathered leather. Inside were documents and a tracking tag. "This stallion, he's documented," Jack read aloud. "And the foal." Jack took the papers with trembling hands, squinting to read in the dim light filtering through their makeshift shelter. What he discovered sent chills down his spine that had nothing to do with the cold. "Ghost Walker," Jack read aloud. "That's what they call him. He's been monitored for 8 years, but listen to this. He's known for adopting orphaned foals." Miguel looked up from where he was tending to Philly. "He's done this before. 3 times, according to these notes. Wildlife biologists have documented him taking in foals who lost their mothers. They call him the guardian of the herd." Jack's voice caught. "And this filly, she's the daughter of his lead mare, Stormcloud. She was killed in a cougar attack 2 days ago." The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place with heartbreaking clarity. The stallion wasn't just protecting any foal. He was protecting his adopted daughter, the baby of his beloved mare. The claw marks on his hide told the story of his desperate fight to save them both. Tom's eyes widened as he continued reading. "There's more. Ghost Walker is 22 years old. That's ancient for a wild stallion. The researchers noted he's been showing signs of age, struggling to maintain his position in the herd." "He knew," Miguel whispered, his hand still gently stroking Philly. "He knew he might not survive the winter, but he chose to save her anyway." The revelation transformed their rescue mission into something more profound. This wasn't just about saving 2 horses. It was about honoring a legacy of compassion that defied the harsh laws of nature. Jack knelt beside Ghost Walker, seeing him with new eyes. The stallion's labored breathing wasn't just from cold and injury. It was the breath of an old warrior making his last stand. Every scar on his body told a story of foals saved, predators fought, and a life lived in service to his herd. "What do we do?" Tom asked, his usual stoicism cracking. "The sanctuary mentioned in these papers is 50 miles away. He'll never make it." Before Jack could answer, Philly stirred more strongly. Her eyes fluttered open, bright, intelligent eyes the color of dark honey. She lifted her head weakly and saw Ghost Walker beside her. The sound she made wasn't quite a whinny. It was more like a question. Ghost Walker responded with a gentle nickering, his muzzle touching hers. In that moment, the love between them was undeniable. This wasn't just instinct or duty. This was family. "We're not taking them anywhere," Jack decided. "We're bringing help here." Tom protested. "The storm has reached its peak. Dr. Sarah Winters is the only vet who works with wild horses. Tell her about Ghost Walker. She'll come in this storm. Tell her who he is. Show her these papers." The storm had reached its peak when Tom's truck disappeared into the white void. Jack and Miguel huddled in the makeshift shelter with the 2 horses, the tarp walls threatening to tear away with each gust. Philly had managed to stand, but swayed dangerously, still using Ghost Walker for support. "She needs milk," Miguel observed, watching Philly's instinctive searching movements. "She hasn't nursed in days." Jack remembered the emergency supplies. "There's powdered mare's milk replacer in the kit. We keep it for orphan calves, but it might work." As Miguel prepared the formula with melted snow and precious warm water from their thermos, Jack noticed Ghost Walker's condition deteriorating. The old stallion's breathing had become more labored, and his eyes were glazing over. The antibiotics and wound treatment had helped, but 22 years of hard living and his recent ordeal were taking their toll. "Stay with us, boy," Jack urged, but he recognized the signs. He'd seen enough animals at the inn to know what was coming. Philly, however, seemed to sense the urgency, too. When Miguel offered her the bottle, she drank eagerly, her tail flickering with the first sign of real vitality they'd seen. Ghost Walker watched her feed, and something like peace crossed his features. The parallels weren't lost on Jack. Here was an old warrior ensuring the next generation would survive before he could rest. It was nature's way, but witnessing it firsthand was overwhelming. An hour passed, then 2. The storm showed no signs of abating, and Tom hadn't returned. Jack began to worry they had made the wrong choice, sending him out in this weather. But Ghost Walker's condition couldn't wait for perfect conditions. That's when they heard it, the distant sound of engines. Not just one, but several. Tom had done more than fetch the vet. The convoy that emerged from the storm was like something out of a movie. Dr. Sarah Winter's mobile veterinary unit led the way, followed by 2 trucks from the Wild Horse Sanctuary and a wildlife rescue vehicle. Dr. Winters, a woman in her 50s with graying hair and kind eyes, didn't waste time with pleasantries. She went straight to Ghost Walker, her experienced hands moving over his body with professional efficiency. "My God," she breathed. "It really is him. I've been documenting this horse for 15 years. She looked up at Jack. "You know what he is to these mountains. He's a legend. Other stallions fight. Ghost Walker saves." Her team worked with practice coordination, for fluids for Ghost Walker, proper feeding equipment for Philly, and most importantly, a specially equipped horse trailer with heating systems designed for emergency rescue. "We need to make a choice," Dr. Winters said after her initial examination. "Ghost Walker is critical. His age, the hypothermia, the wounds his body is shutting down. We could try to transport him, but—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Jack asked, though he already knew. "But what?" "He might not survive the journey. Or we can make him comfortable here. Let him—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Ghost Walker made the choice for them. With enormous effort, he stood up. On shaking legs, the old stallion walked to Philly and gently nudged her toward the humans. The message was clear. Dr. Winters and her team worked through the storm to make Ghost Walker comfortable. They managed pain relief and fluids, but everyone knew they were simply easing his passage. The old stallion had held on long enough to see Philly safe, and now his great heart was ready to rest. Jack knelt beside Ghost Walker, his weathered hand stroking the stallion's neck. "You did good, old boy. You saved her." The storm began to break as dawn approached, revealing a world transformed by snow. In the growing light, they could see Ghost Walker clearly for the first time. His body bore the map of a life lived fully. Scars from battles won, marks from foals defended, and the noble bearing of a true guardian. "We've recorded 17 foals that Ghost Walker saved over his lifetime," Dr. Winters shared, her voice soft with reverence. "Philly makes 18. She's his legacy." As if understanding, Ghost Walker's eyes flickered toward the direction where Philly's trailer had gone. A soft nickering escaped him. Not a sound of pain, but almost like a goodbye. Miguel had been on his phone, and now he looked up with tears in his eyes. "The sanctuary just sent an update. Philly is responding well. She's drinking and even showed interest in the other foals." He showed them a video of Philly already looking stronger in her warm stall. Ghost Walker saw the video, his ancient eyes focusing one last time. What happened next would stay with everyone present forever. The old stallion lifted his head, issued one clear, strong whinny, a sound that echoed across the snow-covered plains, and then gently laid his head back down. "He's calling to her," Dr. Winters whispered, telling her to be strong. The sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light across the scene. Ghost Walker's breathing slowed, each breath more peaceful than the last. Jack, Tom, and Miguel stayed with him. 3 tough ranchers, unashamed of their tears. 22 years of freedom, Tom said quietly. 22 years of being who he was meant to be. Ghost Walker passed as the sun fully crested the horizon. His last breath a gentle sigh. He went as he had lived, with dignity, purpose, and love. Dr. Winters stood slowly. "We'll bury him here where he chose to make his stand. This place will be marked as a memorial to all the wild horses who show us what courage really means." 3 months later, Jack received a video from the sanctuary. Philly had grown strong and healthy, but more importantly, she'd inherited Ghost Walker's spirit. The video showed her standing protectively over a younger foal who'd been brought in, orphaned and afraid. "She started doing it already," the sanctuary director explained in the message. "Just like Ghost Walker, she's adopted the little one. Won't let anyone near him without her approval. The legacy continues." Jack shared the video with Tom and Miguel over coffee. They watched Philly, now bearing a striking resemblance to Ghost Walker in her stance and protective behavior, and they knew the truth. Heroes aren't just made. Sometimes they're taught, one act of love at a time. The memorial at Ghost Walker's resting place became a pilgrimage site for those who understood the bond between humans and horses. A simple plaque read, "Ghost Walker, Guardian of the Lost." He showed us that love knows no boundaries. Ghost Walker's story wasn't just about survival. It was about purpose. For Tom, the encounter challenged everything he thought he knew about wild horses. Their lives weren't defined solely by instinct or dominance. They were shaped by love, loyalty, and an unshakable sense of duty. As the team marked the burial site with a simple stone memorial, inscribed with the words "Courage Lives Here," Tom realized that Ghost Walker's final stand wasn't just for Philly. It was for all of them. He had shown humanity what true courage looked like. This story is a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is light waiting to break through, if only we open our eyes to see it. Whether it's protecting someone vulnerable or honoring the sacrifices of others, these acts of compassion have the power to change lives, including our own. If this tale touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories of hope, resilience, and the incredible bonds between humans and animals. Share this story with someone who needs a reminder that even in loss, there's beauty. And let us know in the comments, what lesson did you take away from Ghost Walker's journey? Thank you for joining us today, and remember, every act of kindness leaves a ripple that lasts forever.